Hey guys, welcome to Exploring Cinema, and welcome to my new show, Last Week in Cinema, where I talk about all the bigger news in the world of movies that broke last week. Now, before I start, I just want to say thank you for coming and just watching me talk about movies, whether it's in my film reviews or any of the other content that I make, including this show. And for those of you who are new to the channel, if you really enjoy what I talk about here and you like what I do, in the description below I will have some links to my more recent reviews that I've done. And, if you like this, please check out some of those reviews. And if you enjoy what I do here, please don't hesitate to subscribe, because that would be you helping to support the channel, and I appreciate all the support that I can get. Alright, so as I stated before, this show is all about the news that broke in the previous week, and the reason why I do that is because I really love talking about, oh, hang on. It's just an email. Nothing important. I always love talking about the breaking news in cinema, but with my day job, I work a normal graveyard shift. I've worked a graveyard shift for the past almost 2.5 years, 3 years. And so anytime something new would break, I'd be sleeping, and then by the time I woke up and actually, heard about the news, and then I rushed to make a video, after doing careful study and just formulating my thoughts, by that time it would have really been too late, and it felt like a waste, like I was putting all this effort in for nothing. So I decided to take that difficulty and turn it into a strength, and that's when I came up with the idea of talking about an entire week's worth of movie news the following I almost said Friday, sorry, Monday. See, I'm already tired. Yeah, so last week I changed things up a little bit in case you've been, some of you have been around a little bit longer. Initially I was doing the box office report beforehand, but it was always for the week in question, and I realized that that was kind of stupid, especially because people don't care about what happened last weekend. They care about what happened this weekend. So I actually did change it up. I will have the weekend box office, the most recent box office report, at the end of the video, because it just makes more sense, because I'm compiling all of these different topics as well as my opinions on them. I'm just compiling. Why compelling? I'm compiling all of them, like, throughout the week, and it just made sense to actually put that last, because that's the most recent news, really. And I do want to say a couple of things before I do get into the topics. I do want to point out that, yes, the Last Jedi, Star Wars The Last Jedi premiere in Hollywood was on Saturday, and yes, there are reactions on Twitter and Facebook. I have promised my fiancée Mallory that I would be staying away from anything involving The Last Jedi the week before its US release, which is this Friday. And actually, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But because of that, I've been staying off of YouTube for the most part. I've been staying off of Facebook. Really, the only things that I've been doing on both of those is making sure that I get up my my videos and make sure that I get them out to you. Other than that, I've been shutting myself off from the world, really. And, oh god, actually, next week is going to be difficult, or this week's going to be difficult because of, trying to get the show notes together for the next episode of this. Oh yeah, and also, this isn't going to sound tied to the show at all, but I love soda a lot. It's like an addiction. And I haven't drank in 4 days, so I'm basically going through a withdrawal. So if I seem like I'm fumbling, or I'm just really irritable, that's why. I apologize. I haven't gone this long without a soda in like 3 years. And the last time I did, it was for like 2 months, and the only reason I got through that was because I was so distracted with everything going on in my life. But, is this how tweakers feel? I feel like it's not. I should probably not say that. I'm gonna go ahead and get into this. Okay, for the first topic. Well, it's been 5 years since Disney purchased Lucasfilm, and so far we've only gotten 2 films. We've gotten Star Wars The Force Awakens and Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, which is a stupid fucking name. It should have just been It should have stayed at Rogue One, a Star Wars anthology. I really like that. And as I mentioned a couple of times in previous videos, this Friday at 2 in the morning, because they had run out of showtimes and they decided to add a new one at my favorite theater, the AMC Dolby Cinema at AMC Prime. I'm going to be seeing The Last Jedi with my lovely fiancée, who is currently in Las Vegas for her 21st birthday, which was this previous Friday. And she will be getting back half a day before, so I get to look forward to 3 things that day. I get to look forward to another Star Wars film, a film that who's written, I can't speak, to a new film that's written and directed by Rian Johnson, who is starting to become one of my favorite directors ever, or at least modern directors. And then 3, I get to see Mallory after 2 weeks of being in an apartment alone. I don't know. We hadn't really been separated too long before when we started going out, and it's just weird for me. I got this whole place to myself, and it's just really silent, and I don't like it. Anyway, back on the topic, I'm sorry for rambling. The cast members of The Last Jedi sat down with Collider's Steve Weintraub, or as we know him as is Frosty. That's what everybody calls him who knows him, for personal interviews. And if you want to see the interviews yourself, just go on Collider's YouTube page, and you can easily find them there. I will try to actually put links in the description, but as I said, I work a graveyard shift, and after this video, I'm going to have to go straight to sleep after I edit and put everything together. Sitting down with the director, Rian Johnson, again, I love that guy. Some of the questions asked by Frosty actually brought up some interesting news, and I did want to talk about them. The first big thing was in reference to the new trilogy being headlined by Johnson, which will bring in entirely new characters and locations. Johnson actually talked about how the plan came to fruition and confirmed that he never intended to direct Episode 9 in the first place, because when the whole thing with Kevin Trevorrow was going on, he was the first person that they asked, and he said, no, because I wanna work on the trilogy. I want to focus my time on that, and also I want a bit of a break after, because if he had actually taken up the position of director for Episode 9, he would not have been able to do the press junkets. He would have actually been doing pre-production already. He would have already been focusing on it. What? Sorry, I had a brain fart. Anyway, here's what he said. As far as the situation and how everything came to fruition. It was totally separate. It was never in the cards for me to direct Episode 9. I was always going to finish Last Jedi and then hand it off to the next filmmaker. But the idea for a new trilogy was completely separate. It just came because we were getting to the end of the process, the filmmaking process, and I think specifically he means post-production, or filming, whatever. And it was kind of getting sad that we had to stop working. But like Kathleen Kennedy and all the folks at Disney, we were just like, we've had a really good time. How do we keep this party going just a little bit longer? We were generally talking about what we could do, and I was like, what would be most interesting to me is ... And then I just said, it wasn't a specific pitch. The pitch was a new trilogy. 3 movies, 1 story. New characters, new places. Let's start fresh. That was the most exciting thing I could think of, and Kathy really responded to that and said, we're going to give it a shot. And he also continued stating 2 possibilities. One is that he would direct, that he could actually direct all 3 films. That is a possibility. But being a realist, Johnson's second possibility was that he could only direct the first one. And he's not concerned with either right now. Right now his focus is actually mapping out the trilogy. Although I do believe I would have to actually look for a quote before I'm very sure about this, but I'm pretty sure he said that he will be writing the entire thing. He will be the overall writer. It's just no guarantee that he's going to direct the last 2. so far, no news on what to expect with the film, which, yeah, for now, the only announced films for Star Wars are Solo, which is coming out in May, and then Episode 9, which releases in December of 2019. Of course, I don't know, as of me making the show notes, there has not been an official announcement for Obi-Wan, for the Obi-Wan standalone film yet, although I did hear that there are rumors that they've already decided on a release date, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything concrete, so I'll probably be putting that in the next video. Excuse me. But yeah, the first film of Johnson's new trilogy probably won't start until like 2020, 2021, or sometime later. And actually for the, for another bit of smaller news from that same interview, though many have talked about it as big news, I don't know why, Rian Johnson actually confirmed that the assembly cut, which is like the first cut of The Last Jedi, the assembly cut is where they put everything together, what they shot, and just cram it together just to see what they have, was about 3.5 hours long, and with the runtime confirmed as just a hair over 2.5 hours, that's pretty much around an hour of deleted scenes that we get to look forward to in the Blu-ray release. And I mentioned this revelation from the interview because Rian Johnson said some things that I think are really smart. And he talks about how he actually cut some of his favorite sequences out of the film because he felt that the film flowed better without them. And since he isn't the big fan, he's not a big fan of the idea of extended cuts for films, and he said there will not be an extended cut for Star Wars. Here's what he said. I'm really not into releasing an extended cut, yeah. I feel like the cut is what it is because I feel that it's the best version of the movie. So the director's cut is the movie that's going out in theaters. All the deleted scenes, no matter how much I love them, they came out for a reason, and it's all for the greater good of the movie. And you... Sorry, I didn't read that right. You can watch the deleted scenes on their own. I think that's the way to watch them, but the movie is definitely the best version of the movie, I think. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, I really feel like I'm tweaking because of no soda, and I can't just run to the fridge to get any because I drank all of them before before I started, just so that I wouldn't be tempted. And I really want to save money right now. Anyway, I love all of this news, and I really trust Johnson with these films. Remember, a little while ago, I actually did reviews on all of his films because he hasn't done that many, and I universally love him. Like, I'm okay with Brothers Bloom. I think that's his weakest, but it's still a really entertaining movie. And then I think Brick, the first movie he ever did, is a fucking masterpiece. And the way that I see it, yeah, we're gonna get a shit ton of content for the Blu-ray release. And when The Force Awakens came out, I also bought the novelization. It had a lot more content than the movie did, and a surprising amount were actually based off of deleted scenes. And anything that's in the novelization is canon, so I can potentially look forward to reading a much longer narrative when the novelization comes out, which I think comes out in March, which is kind of odd, but with the whole thing about this movie having, like, a spoiler to end all spoilers kind of deal, I can actually understand that. Hang on, my computer's acting really bad right now. I'm trying to scroll down to whatever the next topic was. Oh, okay, so this is more Star Wars news. So last week, I actually talked about an interview that Daisy Ridley did, where she seemed to say that she was done as Rey after Episode 9, and this is exactly what she said about it. This is her response. Misquoted. I was misquoted. I was asked, by the way, at the end of a very long day, at the end of a very long shoot, I was asked how I felt going forward, and I said in my mind, the story finishes at Episode 9. To me, Star Wars is in threes. Episodes 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. I know it's a weird... God, I always hated that they did prequels in that order. That's so odd. But, okay, sorry. Let me get back to it. So for me, that's what I was signing on to do. 7, 8, 9. So that's really what I was answering. And I think for now, I'm not saying forever. Obviously, Rey will always be Rey. And obviously, I don't know what will happen in Episode 9, or if I'm even in it. But now, but for now, I think it would be, to me, 9 was always the end of the chapter. So, it's not me going, I don't want to, that's just how I pictured it. I think from a logical standpoint, what she said does make sense. I mean, every trilogy in the Star Wars saga has had some new character, or at least a new group of characters, and Rey could just be a cameo down the line, or she may never even be back, we don't know. It all depends on how the next few movies after that are in the saga, like the actual saga, not spin-offs, how they actually go and how they're written. And, of course, you guys can speculate on what the quote means, like, you know, where she says, I don't even know if I'm in Episode 9. You know, you can speculate, is she gonna die? Is, you know, whatever. I don't know. We'll know what to think of that last part, starting this Friday. Okay, and this part actually did kind of make me, this next topic actually made me a little sad, but at the same time I was just like, I don't know. Because I don't know the full story on this, but picking up on another topic that I covered in the last episode, I mentioned how the production on the Queen biopic Bohemian Rhapsody was halted after the, quote, unexpected unavailability of director Bryan Singer, who's known for directing a lot of the X-Men films. There were discussions between the owners of Fox on whether Singer should be fired or not, since Singer has randomly disappeared from set in the past for other films. Well, on Monday, after I filmed the last episode of Last Week in Cinema, I was actually sitting there editing. I inputted it and I scheduled the video to come out a little bit later. I got an alert on my phone that said, Bryan Singer has been fired from Bohemian Rhapsody. And I'm just like, fuck! But, well, on, oh shit, hold on, my camera's dying. Hold on, I'll be right back, guys. Okay, guys, so sorry about that. The battery was draining a lot for some reason, so I had to, recharge it. I think I did it, long enough. Anyway, damn it, where was I? Oh yeah, no, right after I finished with the last episode, I got a notification on my phone. It was like a Collider video, I think it was, or something like that, and it just basically said, Bryan Singer has been fired, and I thought, fuck. But yeah, if I had known that, I would have put it in last week's, but I guess, yeah, this is a better time than any. The reported reason for the firing is difficulty between the director, Bryan Singer, and Rami Malek, who is portraying Freddie Mercury in the film, as well as Singer's absence, which is funny because the vice chairman and president of production for Fox, Emma Watts, actually set a no-nonsense precedent before production even started that was directed straight towards Singer specifically. Now, shortly after his firing, the production offices of his company Bad Hat Harry were actually shut down and moved off of the 20th Century Fox lot. For now, or not for now, what was it? Oh yeah, sorry, I got details mixed up. For a little bit, it seemed like Thomas Newton Sigel, is that his name? Yeah. He had stepped up as the director in a lot of his other films, and he said that he was ready to take over for directing duties if Fox would let him, but, and Variety sources did claim that there's only a couple weeks left in production, and I thought that the studio would actually end up turning to the cinematographer to finish directing. That's the first part of the news. The second part actually came literally the day after, it would seem that Siegel, whatever his name is, he didn't get the part. Let me see, where was it? Oh yeah, never mind. I got two parts mixed up. I'm sorry. The second part was actually something that Bryan Singer said the day after. He said this: "With fewer than 3 weeks to shoot remaining, I asked Fox to take some time off so I could return to the U.S. to deal with a pressing health matter concerning one of my parents. This was a very taxing experience, which ultimately took a serious toll on my own health. Unfortunately, the studio was unwilling to accommodate me and terminated my services. This was not my decision, and it was beyond my control. Rumors that my unexpected departure from the film was sparked by a dispute that I had with Raimi was not true. While at times we did have creative differences on the set, Raimi and I successfully put those differences aside, or behind us, and continued to work on the film together until just prior to Thanksgiving. I wanted nothing more than to be able to finish this project and help honor the legacy of Freddie Mercury and Queen, but Fox would not permit me to do so because I needed to temporarily put my health and the health of my loved ones first." I don't know if this entire thing is true. I don't know how I feel about it, or if he's even telling the truth. But then, if he was, because I haven't heard anything else throughout the week, I'll go ahead and say that, about him specifically. But if he's telling the truth, then the executives at Fox are dicks, simply put. But I also don't know if there's more to the story, especially because there are some news stories circling around that Bryan Singer has been accused of sexual harassment. If he is, then that's just another name that they can add to the ever-growing list of people being accused in Hollywood these days. The details so far are very muddy at the moment that I wrote this, and even after. But what really, sorry, like I said, the soda withdrawal's really getting me. The details are very muddy about anything that's happening behind the scenes, but for now, as I mentioned earlier, the cinematographer was up to direct the film, and I did kind of spoil the nice reveal. He didn't get the chance. A couple of days after the news of Singer being booted from production, Fox actually announced that there is a new director, and it is Dexter Fletcher, the director of Eddie the Eagle. Starting this week, he will actually take over the directorial duties. Since Bohemian Rhapsody only has 2 weeks of shooting left, it won't take long to finish unless Fletcher's new contract does include, if he can do reshoots, if needed. And he will continue to oversee the project even into post-production and afterwards. Which is good. And as for the director's credit, that's going to have to be decided by the Directors Guild of America. My understanding is that the majority of the footage shot during Singer's time is still in the film, so then by their normal standards that I've seen, Singer would get the director's credit, similar to the Justice League situation, like the majority of the film was Zack Snyder's. So they didn't say that Joss Whedon was the director. Instead, it was Zack Snyder. But then again, I really don't know how the guild works exactly. Maybe there are extenuating circumstances, like if the guy is... Actually, yeah, I actually have no idea. I'm going to stop right there because I know I'm going to be rambling about shit that I do not know. Okay, and for the next topic, I'm going to need a lot of water for this. Sorry. Okay, this is a strange subject, and I'm sure you guys know about it because it's been talked about for the past few days, and it's just weird. And I say that because Quentin Tarantino has never done this before. He has never said that he was going to work for a franchise. He has never worked for a franchise. He's always done his own personal projects. So it was quite a shocker to hear that Tarantino was potentially going to go in this new direction and could actually direct a Star Trek film. It was reported that he had a great idea for the film, for a new film in the franchise. He shared the idea with the producer J.J. Abrams, who directed the first two, who took the idea to Paramount, and there is now a plan to assemble a writer's room where the writers will put together a story that is based on the concept created by Tarantino, and if everything goes well, and Tarantino likes the script, he may actually come back to direct it, with Abrams, of course, joining the project as the producer. Tarantino is still currently hard at work with his 9th film, and assuming that he does end up directing the Star Trek film, that would make it his 10th film, and for those of you who know Quentin Tarantino, you know that he has stated countless times that once he hits his 10th film, he's done. He's going to retire. But then again, Hayao Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli always says that he's retiring, and he just keeps coming back. And it'd be really interesting if he... For some reason, my Google Home Mini just freaked out. That was weird. Shit, where was I? Oh, and it would be interesting to see if he retired after directing a giant blockbuster. A sci-fi one at that, a genre that he still hasn't delved into. However, there has already been plans for a 4th film, and I believe that one, the screenwriter for it was Simon Pegg, who plays Scotty in the film franchise. And I have no idea, nor do I think anyone else has an idea right now, about how the Tarantino pitch is going to affect Star Trek 4. I don't know, we'll have to see. Also, a little bit later in the week, a couple of days after this announcement, it was announced, a couple of things were announced. It was announced that Tarantino was zeroing in on a writer, and currently he's in talks with these people. Mark Smith, who worked on The Revenant, Lindsay Beer, who worked on Chaos Walking, and Drew Pearce, who worked on Iron Man 3. And so far, right now, Smith is the current runner-up, or the current front-runner, sorry. And the writer chosen for the part will actually create the screenplay, while Tarantino finishes his 9th film. And as I said, if the script is to his liking, then he will direct it. But the bigger news was announced at the exact same time, and that was one of the conditions that Tarantino has in order to be involved with the project, like, as far as directorial. The film has to be rated R. And apparently, both Abrams and Paramount are okay with that. Which is kind of odd, because this is Star Trek. It's kind of like a family sort of thing. Like, I know that the Star Trek movies have been PG-13 so far, but, you know, it's not one of those franchises that you can see turning over on itself, becoming rated R. But it would be a definite first for the franchise, obviously, and since the Abrams reboot franchise hasn't been as big a box office success as they wished, with the most recent one being the best, but it still made the least amount of money, they're probably willing to do anything just to make more people come out to see a Star Trek film. Oh, excuse me. Especially because they have to contend with Star Wars now. Okay, next one. Oh, Jesus. My throat actually really hurts. I told you my body is mad at me right now because I stopped drinking soda. Okay, so for the next topic, do you guys remember when I talked a little bit about the talks with Disney and 20th Century Fox, like a couple of episodes back? Well, it looks like those talks between Disney and Fox for the acquisition of some of Fox's assets are back on. And so far, what Disney's interested in, and what Fox is looking to give away to whoever, whether it's Disney or Comcast, who is also looking into it. Here, I'll look at... I actually have a list. They include the film production side, that was obvious. The non-broadcast TV side, like National Geographic or FX. Because, from my understanding, Fox just wants to focus on broadcast television, like Family Guy and, I don't know, whatever else they got. Do they do the Orville? I think that they do the Orville. But anyway, Fox News and Fox Sports, they just want to focus on those. which is kind of odd because they're kind of killing it in film this year, especially with Logan and War for the Planet of the Apes. But you know, I don't know anything. I'm just a small time guy who just likes talking about this shit. But earlier last week, we did get confirmation that not only were the talks back on, a deal is potentially going to close soon, and they said that the deal actually could be announced this week at the earliest. It could next episode I could actually be talking about the result of these talkings. I kind of don't want to, mainly because like I already feel like this coming week is going to be fucking just packed up with a lot of news, especially with Last Jedi coming out, and I'm gonna have to work my ass off most likely, or nothing's gonna happen. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But yeah, I actually looked at the number. Fox is selling $60 billion worth of assets, and I think that's the biggest deal that Disney has ever made, because Lucasfilm, I think, was their biggest, or still is, and they only paid $4 billion for it. It has also been clarified that the reason why, as I said earlier, and this is just, just to show you guys that this is true, Fox clarified that they're looking to sell off those assets because the executives actually decided that they couldn't compete as well in the marketplace with their film studio, and just wanted to focus honing their news and sports portions as well as the broadcast TV. I think that's stupid. Like I said, Logan, just one example, Logan. As far as what Disney will do with those assets is mostly still unclear. They could take the assets, create a separate studio, set it up with its own executives, hierarchy, similar to how they handled Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios, which I'd be for. But the other possibility, and I don't really like that, is that certain portions of the film studio could be integrated into Disney's established properties, i.e., and I don't want to say it, but bringing all of the superheroes under the Marvel Studios roof. The way that I see it, it's mostly a bad idea because, just the major one, that's less of a choice for consumers, and, you know, one less place for storytellers to take their stuff. Fox, if owned by Disney, may entirely shift the kinds of films that it makes, and whereas in the past you could go to Fox and try and sell your product if Disney passed, usually a lot of people will go to Disney first, and then if they won't accept it, they'll try everybody else, because it's like, Disney, so, this is what we want, we will not accept this. Yeah, whereas in the past, you could go to Fox and try to sell your project, if Disney passes, as I said. This now blurs those lines. And if you're thinking that they could bring reboots to the X-Men franchise and even the Fantastic Four, even if they did, it would probably be way down the line. They already have 20 films planned, and most not officially announced, but Kevin Feige did say 20. He said that exact number last week. And it would be really hard to incorporate them in the lineup. And not only that, but Marvel Studios already pushes out like 3 films a year by itself. If they added those properties, they would just they would probably increase to about 4 or 5, I'm guessing, and thus make the creative oversight just become impossible to manage. And think about this. And this goes not just for Marvel Studios, but any film made by Fox. Would Disney ever greenlight anything like Logan or Alien Covenant? Although I hope not, because I didn't like Alien Covenant. Or like the R-rated Deadpool movies, or hang on, let me think of old classic Fox movie, The Fly. Why did I think The Fly? Anyway, yeah, The Fly. I mean, I could keep listing off Fox movies, but you get the point. And also, I really don't want to list off more. I think I got my point across. I don't know. I would honestly need more information on what Disney's plans are with those assets if they do end up buying them, because I'm slightly uncomfortable with all this. Now, actually, they could, down the line, incorporate Fantastic Four into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I can actually see that. But not the X-Men franchise. Just put it in Marvel Studios, but don't put it in the same universe. Come up with, like, a new one, like the... They can't do Mutant Cinematic Universe. The XCU? X-Men Cinematic Universe? I don't know. You guys would have to come up with a better name than me, because I suck at this. Okay, so on the next topic, and this one's actually very short. I don't have too much of an opinion on it, but I thought it was kind of funny when I read it. So, many people were not initially pleased with the casting of Daniel Craig as 007 over a decade ago. It's been like, 12 years, I think. Yeah, give or take. But apparently there was actually one actor who could have played the role instead. After his breakout role as Wolverine in the X-Men franchise, Hugh Jackman was actually offered the role of Bond, and he revealed this in an article, or in an interview with Variety. I was about to do X-Men 2, or X2, as it would later be called, and a call came from my agent asking me if I'd be interested in Bond. I just felt at the time that the scripts had become so unbelievable and crazy, and I felt that they needed to become grittier and real. And the response was, "Oh, you don't get a say, you just have to sign on." I was also, worried that between Bond and X-Men, I'd never have time to do other things. And, let's be honest, he didn't know that the Bond franchise was actually going to take a more realistic turn starting with Casino Royale. I mean, the last movie that came out before that point was Die Another Day, and it literally had an invisible car. I mean, I personally think it's kind of a fun movie, if I remember correctly. I haven't seen it in like 8 years at the least, so I don't remember if I don't know if it's good or not. I just remembered that I enjoyed it, but I always thought that the invisible car was really stupid. And I don't blame Jackman for thinking that playing Bond would be silly, or too silly of a role. But you know what? I'm glad that he didn't say yes, because Jackman went on to score some amazing dramatic roles, like The Prestige, which I love. It's one of my... I actually believe it's my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. And The Fountain, which I think is an underrated movie. And then even Les Miserables, which he got nominated for an Oscar for, which the movie itself is okay, but I do think that Hugh Jackman did a really good job in that movie. And on the other side, we have Daniel Craig making Bond cool again with Casino Royale, and then its grounded take of the character of 007. Sure, the Spectre wasn't as good, but hopefully this last one, Bond 25, whatever it's going to be called, will be good. Okay, another one that made me crack up. This is, the next topic. I need more water. That one's really warm. Okay, so a while ago it was announced that, Legendary Studios was producing a live-action Pokemon movie based off of the video game Detective Pikachu, which is basically a Pikachu that can talk. I don't know, I'm not familiar with how they pull that off in the thing. All I know is that it's in the game, there's a boy who can understand Pikachu, and they team up to solve crimes or some shit like that. Well, apparently they've already cast, quite a few of the kid actors, but they actually cast the voice of Pikachu, and that person is Deadpool. Yeah, Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds, Canada's sweetheart, is playing Detective Pikachu. That's odd. Anyway, his performance will be motion capture based, and the story is basically what I mentioned earlier. A kid is able to understand him, and he's really smart. He solves crimes, and they team up because, you know, you need a human to make things, you know, grounded. You know, like the Transformers series. That's exactly what you need. They should begin shooting the film soon, and, Detective Pikachu, if I remember correctly, was greenlit around the explosion of Pokemon Go, which, luckily, the Pokemon brand is still going strong, especially with the recent release of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon for the 3DS, but we shall see if the people, not just the fans, will actually crave the film around the time of release, especially because Pokemon Go is like a shell of its former self. It's more machine now than man. Sorry, I had to put in a Star Wars joke somewhere in there. Okay, for the next topic, this is more Disney live-action remake news. We actually have some news about the upcoming Little Mermaid film. It would seem that Rob Marshall, the director of Oscar films like Chicago and Memoirs of a Geisha, as well as Disney films like Into the Woods, as well as the upcoming film with Emily Blunt, Mary Poppins Returns, is attached to direct the remake. And the last bit is actually interesting because, hang on. Yeah, Lin-Manuel Miranda, the creator of the hit musical Hamilton, which I love Hamilton, is one of the stars of Mary Poppins Returns, and he actually collaborated with the composer of The Little Mermaid, Alan Menken, to create some new songs for The Little Mermaid. And who knows, perhaps Miranda and Marshall will team up once again somehow. Anyway, I say that because Marshall received the offer to direct recently, and most likely won't be making a decision on whether he will or won't direct until after the holidays. And I really hope that this film gets off the ground, because Universal has been trying to, get their own version of the original story out there for a little while, and I'd rather it not become like another Jungle Book incident where you had the Disney one coming out and then you had the Andy Serkis one scheduled for about the same year, and then they're like, no, we're gonna push it back like another year and a half. Yeah, that's really all of my thing on it. Okay, so for the next topic, and this one I don't have too much of an opinion on either, it's just a little bit of news that I thought was kind of cool. The other day, some news actually broke in reference to the upcoming X-Men movie, Dark Phoenix, and EW confirmed that the story follows the X-Men when they go into space for a rescue mission, and then, quote, a solar flare hits the X-Jet and a surge of energy ignites the malevolent, power-hungry new force within Jean Grey, called the Phoenix. And from my understanding, the film seems to be adapting the Dark Phoenix comic saga very closely, but I'm only very slightly familiar with the comic run. I read it like once, and I actually really enjoyed it, but I don't remember all of the details. Although the time period for the film was actually announced too, with the film taking place in 1992, and at this time the mutants are seen as national heroes. And as I said, not much of an opinion. I hope it'll be good, but I don't know. I mean, the director Simon Kinberg is a well-known writer and producer, but he has never directed anything until this film. But anyway, we'll see next year if he does a good job or not. Okay. Oh, another thing that I talked about in a previous episode was the whole David Yates thing, where he came out defending the casting of Johnny Depp as well as not recasting him for the Fantastic Beasts saga. Well, last week, the screenwriter and creator of the Wizarding World, J.K. Rowling, gave her 2 cents, and I actually wrote down the entire statement, so I will be reading it to you. Let me just scroll. Okay. When Johnny Depp was cast as Grindelwald, I thought he'd be wonderful in the role. However, around the time of filming his cameo in the first movie, stories had appeared in the press that deeply concerned me and everyone most closely involved in the franchise. Harry Potter fans had legitimate questions and concerns about our choice to continue with Johnny Depp in the role. As David Yates, longtime Potter director, has already said, we naturally considered the possibility of recasting. I understand why some have been confused and why some are angry about why that didn't happen. The huge, mutually supporting community that has grown around Harry Potter is one of the greatest joys of my life. For me personally, the inability to speak openly to the fans about this issue has been very difficult, frustrating, and at times painful. However, the agreements that have been put in place to protect the privacy of 2 people, both of whom have expressed a desire to get on with their lives, must be respected. Based on our understanding of these circumstances, the filmmakers and I are not only comfortable with sticking with our original casting, but genuinely happy to have Johnny playing a major character in the movies. I've loved writing the first 2 screenplays, and I can't wait for fans to see Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. I accept that there will be some of those who are not satisfied with our choice of the actor in the title role. However, conscience is not governable by committee. In the fictional world and outside of it, we all have to do what we believe is the right thing. I actually really love that last part that she said. With the fictional world and the outside, we all have to do what we believe is the right thing. I don't know why. That really moved me. Okay, I love everything that she said, especially because of how she said the matter should be left between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, because they would rather move on from everything. They've said it publicly. We should all just move on, really. Sadly, I highly doubt that this is the last that we've heard of the... excuse me, about the casting, and I'm sure a lot of people will continue to complain until he is removed, or whether he's removed or not. But we shall see. Okay, I believe this is actually the last topic, because I did spend a lot of time on this one. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna be rambling. I'm gonna be rambling, and I'm going to be happy and pissed off at the same time. And also happy, you'll see why. Okay, it is official, and I'm very happy to say the sentence that I'm about to say. Are you ready for it? Here it goes. Warner Brothers says Justice League is a disappointment. Yes, thank you. Because if you guys have seen my review of Justice League, I fucking hate that movie. I can cherry pick, okay. Anybody watching, can you go in the comments and tell me, okay, like, in a good movie, you have nitpicks. It's like those small things that you don't like. What about in a bad movie? What are those small things that you do like? What is that called? Like, what's the opposite of a nitpick? I actually want to see if there's an answer for that. But anyway, Justice League was supposed to be the answer to the Avengers by Warner Brothers and DC, and it's considered a disappointment and doesn't even, I don't even think it's gonna reach Man of Steel. I would actually have to look at the box office numbers for Man of Steel, and I'll actually do that when we get to the weekend box office, because Justice League is still in the top 5. If it doesn't surpass Man of Steel, it will actually be the lowest grossing DCEU film. And as a result of this realization, last week it was announced that Warner Brothers is changing things at an executive level, and they are also changing a few things to get the DCEU back on track. Excuse me. They say back on track, but, you know, it was never really on track in the first place, even though I really enjoy Man of Steel. I'm like one of those few people who actually thinks it's a good movie. Okay, so here's what we know. From a Collider article on the subject, it reads, let me scroll. Variety reports that John Berg, who was installed to run DC Films alongside Jeff Johns in the wake of Batman vs. Superman's disappointment in May of 2016, will be leaving his current job and will instead become a production partner with Roy Lee, who produced some movies like the Lego Movie and It. It had it in brackets. I felt like I needed to read it. Apparently, Berg approached the studio 6 months ago about the idea, stating that he always ultimately wanted to be a producer at the studio, not overseeing an entire fucking division. That was not in the article. I put in the fucking, because, you know, I got a little heated. Because, you know, that... I don't know, he sounds like an asshole. Now, as far as Jeff Johns, he's still expected to stay on as Chief Creative Officer, but his contributions to the films, according to Variety, may actually evolve, and he could actually be demoted. He could actually be demoted to more of an advisor, and no, I haven't heard confirmation, but I do actually believe that they did do it. I did hear something about it, but nothing from a confirmed, you know, article or anything. The president of Warner Brothers Pictures Group, Toby Emmerich, is reportedly weighing the idea of, instead of having DC as a separate company like Disney does with Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm, they're thinking of shifting its structure altogether and integrating DC film operations into the studio's main movie arm, instead of keeping them separate. Which is kind of how Fox and Sony oversee their superhero properties as well, I think. But anyway, the overhaul is expected to happen as early as January, and while there's no guarantee that the DC Films arm will be integrated, the fact that Emmerich is considering this as an option speaks of the degree of which Warner Brothers is unhappy with the DC output so far. And actually, this makes me really happy because, again, I hate the movies. I've hated most of... Yeah, I've hated most of the movies that came out. Like, I do enjoy Man of Steel. I don't hate Batman vs. Superman, but I do heavily dislike it, though there are a few parts of it that I like. I hate Suicide Squad. Although, I'm starting to think maybe it's a slightly better film than Justice League overall. Like, no, actually it's not, sorry. Wonder Woman was good, but not great. Not as great as everybody says it is. That's bullshit, because the third act was terrible. And then Justice League, oh my god, I haven't been pissed at a movie in so long. The way that I was pissed at that one. I'm gonna stop because I'm gonna be rambling, and you don't need me rambling right now. Okay, so that is actually the end of the topics for today. Now, we will actually be getting into the last installment of the film, the weekend box office, and these numbers for the box office are as of 6 a.m. This morning, and I get all the numbers from boxofficemojo.com, and these numbers are focusing on the domestic weekend for the U.S., the total domestic grossing for the U.S., and of course the worldwide totals so far. And I will be listing them off from 5 to 1, since I only focus on the top 5, and I feel like it's awesome to, like, go up and be like, you know, and the big reveal. I don't know why I did that. I am really loopy. Okay, so, in 5th place is Thor Ragnarok, with a domestic weekend of 6.3 million, overall domestic total in the US for 301.1 million, and worldwide is at 833.1 million. I actually, where's my phone? Oh shit. Damn it, I moved it somewhere else. I'll find it later. I think, if I remember correctly, I don't remember if Spider-Man Homecoming was the worldwide at 860 or 880, but I know that it's really close to surpassing it. I still think it could, but it's starting to slow down, so I'm starting to feel a little bit hesitant about my prediction, but again, we will see. In 4th place is The Disaster Artist, with which opened up wide this weekend, and it had a domestic weekend of 6.4 million, with a domestic total of just over 8 million, with an overall worldwide total of 9.7 million. And actually, I have an interesting comment about this. Disaster Artist is in my town. It's in the theater just a little bit. Oh shit, my damn, the camera's dying again. Okay, I'll be right back. Hey, sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's up with the battery. I'm just gonna finish this up, and I'm gonna try to go out a little bit later today after I get some sleep and actually get a new battery. But as I was saying, Disaster Artist is in my theater right now, but Mallory is a fan of the source material, just like I am, The Room, which the whole story of the Disaster Artist is based off of. And she said that I'm not allowed to watch it while she's gone. I have to wait until a day when she gets back. So I'm not even going to see this until the Monday after Last Jedi premieres. I'm really excited though, because I love The Room. It is so awful. It's so awful it's good. Okay, I'm gonna get through this really quickly just in case the battery does try to fail again. In third place was a cute little independent movie, Wonder, which I think is a really cute movie, really good movie. And it's still holding strong in the box office. It had a domestic weekend of 8.4 million, with a domestic total of 100.3 million, and an overall worldwide total so far of 129.6 million. I'm really glad that it's still holding strong. In second place, still being a disappointment, a fucking disappointment, is Justice League. Somehow it's in the second place spot, and it's still a disappointment. That's funny. The domestic weekend for it was 9.5 million, with a domestic total of just over 212 million, with an overall worldwide total of 613.3 million. And I believe that just to be a little profitable, it has to get to 700. So we'll see if it gets there. And then in first place, once again, for the third week in a row, is Coco, which I think is the best movie that's out in the theater right now. Well, okay, no, there's a couple of movies that's still out in theaters, but they're not really in too many theaters still because they've been out for a while, but that's beside the point. As far as, like, most recent releases, this is the best one. Domestic weekend was 18.3 million, so almost double what Justice League was this weekend, with an overall domestic total of 135.5 million, you know, in a half. I don't know why I said 0.5. I'm tired. With an overall worldwide total of 359.5 million. Not too shabby for a little animated film. Well, guys, yep, that's it for me today. That wraps up this installment of Last Week in Cinema. Thank you guys so much for coming out and just hearing me talk about the world of movies pertaining to last week. I really have fun with this. I have fun putting together the show notes, and I have a lot of fun. I usually have a lot more fun actually filming it. It's just that there were a lot of things going wrong, i.e. my withdrawal from soda, as well as the battery on the camera trying to die constantly. But I'll see if I can fix that for the next time. Well, anyway, I will see you guys next week for the next installment, and maybe during then, I'll be able to recap my entire experience about Star Wars The Last Jedi. No spoilers, but, you know, maybe I'll be able to talk about how I felt before I get into everything. But anyway, like I said, thank you guys so much for watching, and farewell until the next video.